Um, I just recorded. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what's happening, but I just recorded quite a big chunk before this, and it's not. I just recorded a big chunk before this. I hope it records. Anyways, let's just go on to the Q&A. So the Q&A today is the Q&A today will be on this one. Why does everyone say the best revenge against a narcissist is to live well and forget about the abuse? By Dennis Copeland. So thank you, Dennis, for the ask to answer. So what I want to say about this question is that the best revenge is often to live well and forget about the abuser rather than the abuse. So living well means that we heal, that we completely heal from the abuse, that we could discern that we are not responsible for most of the things that we feel when we are around the narcissist, for most of the things that we encounter, for most of the things that because usually when we are in the abuse, when we are in the abusive relationship, we put on ourselves a lot of burden, a lot of projections from the narcissist, a lot of the narcissist's feelings, a lot of guilt, shame, and a lot of emotional distress. So all of those things, we need to recognize that those are not us, that those are not real. They are just an illusion, and they are not real. I mean, the emotional distress is very real, but the fact that we shouldn't hold ourselves accountable to it is what I'm trying to say, and that it's the fact that we are responsible for our own pain and misery, that we are responsible for what the narcissist has inflicted on us, is not rational, is not real. The narcissist is creating an illusion that makes you think that you are the one that has caused yourself to reach to come to this point in the relationship, to create such abuse in the relationship. So we need to recognize that it's not all on us. In fact, it's not at all on us, because the narcissist has planned from the very beginning to put us in that position, in that shelf on their human doll collection, basically. So there's nothing you can do to win against a narcissist, right? So another thing about living well is that you need to heal, and you need to kind of go heal all of the damages that the narcissists have inflicted on you. And once you can do that, you break free from the trauma bond, you break free from the narcissist, and all of the things that the narcissist try to convince you, all of the narcissistic belief, all of the ideologies and a belief system that a narcissist is implanting on you, all of the evil seeds, as I say, is not has to be removed. And once you remove those evil seeds, then you can be healthy, and you can be joyous, you can do whatever you like. Then they will no longer be part of your life. And when they are no longer part of your life, that means you forget about the abuser. That means the abuser is no longer in your frequency range. They are no longer within your dimension. You cannot see them, you cannot feel them, they cannot reach you anymore. So that shows that they are not important to you anymore, that they don't matter to you anymore. And when they don't matter anymore, you are starving them of supply. You're forcing them to face their deep insecurities. You're forcing them to look within. And the narcissists don't like to look within, because inside is a whole pit of insecurities, shame, self-loathing, and a lot of worthlessness. So the narcissist never wants to look inside. The narcissist needs to put others down, needs to diminish others, destroy others, so that they can feel powerful and superior. So that is the narcissist's curse, as I would say. They are cursed. They are tied to their ego, their super ego, which enslaves them to destroy others, to ruin people's lives. So let me just check something. Okay, right. And protecting their ego is their main priority. So there's nothing you can do to win against the narcissist, because they will do their very best to protect their ego, and they are so dependent on their ego that they will do anything at all, even if it means hurting themselves, even if it means killing themselves, even, to protect their ego, because they will not rest until their ego wins. It is their life's mission to prove to everyone, to prove to themselves that they are the best, that they are special, that they are beyond and above others, that they are God, they are beyond God, that they are beyond the system, that they are just, I don't know, they are just otherworldly, so to speak. So that's what they want to be, and that's what they try to impose on others and themselves through this ego. So that's what the ego does. That's their ego's job, basically, and they are slaves to their ego. And so when we starve them of their supply, they're either going to look for new supply, and or they are going to have to face their inner demons. And if they can't find good supply, they're going to come hoover at you. And when they can't, when you still when they when they still can't reach you after a lot of hoovering, then they are going to be forced to face the truth. That is, that they have no ability to control others, that they have no ability to control others, to in when others don't want them to control them, because we all have free will to some extent. We have free will to some extent. So if they, if they have to admit to themselves that the nature of uncontrollableness, the nature that not everything can be controlled, then they kind of, they become a bit psycho. They go into narcissistic rage because they have to face the wrath of their own ego. Their ego is challenged, and their ego will blame them for being pathetic, for being useless, for not being able to get supply. So that is what, that is their own curse. That is the curse of their ego. That is, their own torment. So you don't have to find revenge, because they are already in great pain. So the reason I say not to forget the abuse, but only to forget the abuser, is because we need to keep in mind, we need to remember the abuse. We need to keep it fresh in our psyche, so that we can discern, so that we can notice the signs of the abuse, the signs of a narcissist, and stay clear whenever, narcissistic people come up. But the important thing about this is that we need to make this an organic process. We need to make this as organic as possible, meaning that we can't try to force our response, force us to tune out, or unsync from the narcissist channel. We can't force ourselves to do that, because the narcissist has an instinct. They are very adept, at causing us harm, at knowing and reading us, at studying us, at knowing all of our responses, what we are going to do. They have learned from a very young age. They have mastered the mask of perfection. They have mastered the art of analyzing someone. So if you try to force your own response, it's not going to work out. So you need to let all of the abuse, you need to remember the abuse, but also remember it in a way that lets your gut knows. Remember it in a way that, lets the abuse sink in, so that you can naturally and organically recognize any abusive signs in a relationship, and then quickly and just as organically escape, escape from the abuse. So everything has to be instinctive, because if it's instinctive and not forceful, then the narcissist cannot predict it, right? and it has to be natural, you know. Yeah, and then the good thing about being natural is that not only is it effective, not only is it very effective, but also it is very effortless. You know, you don't have to try too hard for it. You just it's almost like gray rock. You don't have to try too hard to ignore them. You just focus on something else, you know. So it's very it's a different effort. It's not a difficult, it's not a very it is difficult, but it's not a what do you call that, it's not a strong effort, but it is a different effort. It is an effort that we need to that you know we lack practice. In other words, it's a smart effort, but it's a very it's quite difficult to explain, but you know, it's an effort where we need to try to tune out of the narcissist and make to extract them from our minds, you know, to know where our boundaries are, not our boundaries, but to know where our identity is, you know, to not mesh our identity with the narcissist identity, to know the clear boundaries of ourself and the narcissist self. So when we can distinguish that, then everything will be natural, you know. So yeah, so that's it for that question, I think. So the best revenge is to live well, to heal, and to forget about the abuser, to become narc resistant or narc proof, as in to kind of to be sent to a different universe, you know, because we are no longer speaking in the language of the narcissist. The narcissist can no longer reach us. So we are basically transcending. We are basically transporting to a different universe where the narcissist can never reach us. But it is a long process. But speaking from experience, there are some moments where you can transport there and come back to Earth and have to face narcissists again. But if you keep no contact and try your best at the healing process, there will be flashes of these insights, of this enlightenment, where they cannot reach you. You know, where you notice that you are in a completely different dimension from the narcissist, and the narcissist, however hard they try, they cannot reach you. You know, there will be flashes of these moments in your life if you keep no contact, and if you keep hard at trying to break the trauma bond, trying to leave the narcissist emotionally, mentally, physically, and trying and keep working hard on this recovery process. It is worth it. I assure you, it is worth it. So that's all for the Q&A. So now for the dance therapy. I want to show my screen. Let me just check if it's recording again. So I recorded the comments before this, but sorry about that, guys, because I recorded quite a lot of content before this, but it's not showing up, so I'm a bit worried. That's fine. Okay, I think that was the preview. Okay. That was the preview, guys. So I think let's just go back to the let's just go back to the not go back, but so I recorded the comments section earlier, not comments, but I tried to talk about, I was talking about sorry about this, I was talking about okay, I'm having a bit of a jam. I was talking about these comments in Facebook that was kind of representing people who are trying to expound this propaganda about having compassion for the narcissist, having empathy for those who are sociopathic and psychopaths. So I feel like those are not practical things to do, because it is putting ourselves on the line, and it is very detrimental to our mental health, to our safety. So it is not a safe thing to do, and that's why this video is titled "Non-Compliance to the Narcissist: Seeking the Truth," because we should not just accept whatever the narcissist is expounding, whatever people are saying that might seem true, but if we think about it, it's not really true. It's kind of and the thing about this is they put in statements, they put in true statements, and then they kind of take things out from that statement, so that it becomes a completely different thing. You can't take things out from a statement. It becomes incomplete, and then either they take things out or they add embellishments that is false. So that is the thing about current propaganda. So I want to share this post on Facebook about that I sent a few days ago. I did this, I recorded this, but I'm not sure that it recorded just now, because I didn't press the live button. So unfortunately, I have to do this all over again. Sorry about that. My fault anyways, but right. So this is the post that I want to talk about. So the story of a narcissistic abuse survivor is much like Pinocchio's, a long journey from naive innocence to the deep recognition of evil. So someone commented on this. Where is it? Right. Right, over here. Sorry, I didn't have the time to censor the names, and I would normally censor it, but because I didn't have the time, yeah, so I didn't have I didn't have the time to do it. But in the future, I will make sure to censor it for privacy purposes. So I'm sorry about that, and I will censor it in the future. So this someone commented on my post that I shared earlier about the Pinocchio one. Because I said something about from naive innocence to the deep recognition of evil. So this guy said, I disagree. Just because the psychology of a narcissist is completely self-centered does not mean that they do not have empathy, and it does not mean that they do not have a conscience. It means that these qualities in them relate to themselves because they see others as an extension of themselves. So what does it mean that they see others as an extension of themselves? That means that they don't see others. They only see themselves. And what does that mean? That means they have no empathy. So I replied, so they have no ability to see others as non-extensions? Isn't that the same thing as no empathy? It's like saying 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3 and 2 plus 1 equals 3. So 1 plus 1 has to equal 3. I see, you do make a valid point. So I was being a bit sarcastic because I was a bit upset. I was a bit annoyed by his statement that, is just kind of confusing statement. It's almost like a hypnotic statement that makes you feel like, that makes you think that it makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense that you're saying that they see others as an extension of themselves, and so they must have empathy for themselves, and that's why they should have empathy for others. That doesn't make any sense. They only see themselves. How is that empathy? So I continue by saying, as for conscience, there's nothing to do with extensions at all. They simply don't have the capacity to feel bad for what they have done, because like you said, the concept of others don't exist. So yes, 1 plus 1 does equal 2 after all. So he replied by saying, I think you have an axe to grind that has to do with your own personal situation, spiritually and psychologically, and I don't appreciate you trying to grind it on me. So the funny thing about this is that he doesn't counter my statement. So I wrote here, so when you disagree, it's reasonable, but when I disagree, I have an axe to grind, right? And it's not a fair debate. He's trying to use my emotion as his defense because he couldn't counter my argument. And the fact that he didn't reply after that, so this post was posted, I think, on Monday or Sunday, and then the day after he replied, and I replied back to his reply, and then after that he just left it blank. And the reason I know he left it blank is because he made a separate comment on this post, and I replied to that comment, and then he replied to my reply to his comment, but on the same day that I made the reply to this comment, right? So the fact that he replied to that thread, but he didn't reply to this thread, means that he doesn't want to reply to this thread. Means that he saw my reply, but he didn't bother anyways, right? He just left it as, you have an axe to grind, right? He just left it there. So I continued to write, but I do have a point though, and he didn't reply for only 18 minutes. As you can see here, it's only 18 minutes. But then you'll see on the next thread that at the same time frame, he replied to that thread, the other thread, but he didn't reply to this thread, and after 6 hours or so, the post was blocked to the public. It was blocked to the public, and I got a notification from Facebook that says that only I am allowed to see, only I can see this post. So yeah, so it's a bit funny that someone decided to block it. I'm not sure why someone decided to block it. I might be rude in some way. I'm just sarcastic. I'm just speaking my truth. I'm just voicing out, but someone decided to block it. So anyways, and after 2 or 3 hours, I tried to track back the comments and to see if anyone has replied or anyone, is reading it or anything, just to track it back. But I saw that the post was nowhere to be found. It was just removed completely. So 6 hours, they block it to the public. 2 hours, 8 hours after, they removed it completely, just removed the post. So anyways, sorry guys, I'm a bit tired because I spoke about this, but I didn't press the button. So I recorded it, but I didn't press the button, so I have to speak all over again, and it's a bit exhausting for me, but I'll try my best. So this is the other comment that he made. So he said, emotional maturity, again, sorry about this non-censorship, I will make sure to censor in future. So emotional maturity sometimes mean recognizing that other people are not emotionally mature and forgiving them for it. It sometimes means recognizing that some people are psychologically maladjusted to society and allowing for it. It sometimes means stepping away from someone that doesn't work for you, and but not demonizing them for it. Sorry. So I agree with stepping away from someone, but I don't agree with not demonizing them for it. So demonizing is a strong word. I wouldn't use demonize. I would use precaution. I'm warning other people. I'm warning other people about narcissistic behavior that is evil, that does not have any empathy for others, that does not have conscience, and that does not have regard for others. So that's what I'm warning others about. So that is the precaution. That is not demonizing them. It is just warning others. So he also made the point about recognizing that some people are psychologically maladjusted to society and allowing for it. So why should we allow for it? We should at least say something about it, and or make people aware about it. Why should we just keep silent about it? It doesn't make any sense. Why should we be silent about abuse? So I continue by saying, have you been abused unfairly by a psycho before? I'm guessing not. Not everyone has the strength to take the high road all of the time. The narcissist will not think twice to demonize anyone, to unload their own misery. So why is it that we have to stay silent while they abuse us and be okay with it? Go get abused 1 or 2 times, then come back and I dare you to talk like a saint. Either that or I'm guessing you are a raging narcissist yourself. So I'm not proud about what I said on the last 2 sentences, but I had to say it uh, because it's what I think. Yeah, I have to speak my truth, in other words. So after that, I continue to say some people are sick beyond repair and will go to disgusting lengths just to ruin someone's life, to no end. There are enough bad people out there, so please stop defending them. Evil is real, and evil doesn't give shit about emotional fairness or maturity. There are people who would not stop at anything until uh, until until they see everyone in pain and ruin. How can that deserve forgiveness? Please be reasonable. You're asking abuse victims to forgive their abusers like it's the most obvious and easiest thing to do in the world. You sound like a daft child. Or I'm not proud of the last sentence as well, but I probably shouldn't have said this part. But yeah, the rest I hold what I said on the previous statements. So I stand by what I said, except for the last sentence. So he replied by saying, yes, I have. So he's replying to this abuse. Go get abused 1 or 2 times. No. Have you been abused unfairly by a psycho before? And he said, yes, I have. Don't make too many assumptions. So that's basically the only assumption that I make. And he's making this blanket statement about everything that I said is an assumption. Just because I made one assumption doesn't mean everything that I said is an assumption. So he continued by saying, don't make too many assumptions. You sure are immature. And then he said, you show your anger. All right, now he's diagnosing me. He's telling me what I am. He's defining me, to myself and to public. He's trying to make me, he's trying to, what do you call that? He's trying to control my belief about myself. So that's very narcissistic in my opinion. But anyways, he said, you show your anger and the rage that you will not let go that you will not let go of because you are still stuck in yourself looking out at the world instead of realizing that we are all connected. So there is some truth in the fact that we are all connected, but there is some truth that people are so evil that they drive themselves out of connection, so which I will talk about later. But yeah, so let's just continue. Start by forgiving yourself. So I replied, as someone who just quite recently stepped out of an abusive relationship, seeing how you skipped compassion for victims who deserve more sympathy than the abusers is just hard to bear. I'm sorry if I was rude. I just don't think you get to tell people to just forgive them without knowing them first, without knowing what they have gone through in life, where they are at their stage of recovery. You're making a blanket statement that I feel benefits only a select few who has reached. Sorry, you're making a blanket statement that I feel benefits only a select few who has reached close to full recovery from the abuse and need much less care, guidance, and help. I am fighting for those who are at the brink of I'm fighting for those who are at the brink of emotional death, defending against justice. Narcissists don't get to harm us and keep receiving humanity from us. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. It takes time, a long time to heal, and recognizing their wickedness is one of the steps to break the trauma bond. Refusing to admit that there are people who drive themselves so far out of human connection and in fact would even use it to hurt us and corrupt others is just plain ignorance. I'm not sure you have much sympathy for victims here. So yeah, so he's making a blanket statement, and he doesn't have compassion for the abuse victims fresh from the abuse. Imagine if you're someone who has just been abused by someone, a survivor, and you see something like this, you see something where people are saying, we should stop demonizing narcissists. They are not that bad people after all. They do have empathy, that they have something in them. Imagine what you would feel, when you have given it your all to the relationship, when you have been harassed and abused and violated all over and over again by the narcissist. After putting your best foot forward, after trying your best to rectify the relationship, after giving it your all, and then still have them spit at you, is still have them bite you in your ass over and over again, is just not right. So I just spent so this guy, the funny thing about the next comment is that he replied to my comment immediately after I hit the enter button. I got he started typing, and then he sent this immediately after, so he didn't even bother to read my comment. He didn't even bother. He just completely ignored it and just typed this, right? He made this statement again, as you can see over here, 29 minutes, 30 minutes, so about less than a minute, about a minute. He just immediately typed this. He wrote, I just spent the time telling you all about me, so please stop making assumptions. Again, just because I make one assumption, which is over here, have you been abused unfairly by a psycho before? I'm guessing not. So I even wrote that I'm guessing. I even say honestly that I am guessing, which is I am admitting to assuming, and that is my only assumption, basically, right? And I also make the assumption that he's a raging narcissist, of course. But yeah, other than that, I made a lot of sound, reasonable statements. But he is basically using those few assumptions that I make and discrediting everything that I say based on those few assumptions. So he said, please stop making assumptions. What you are doing right now is not fair to myself, nor you, nor any reader. My statement stands, and if you read it objectively, you will see it is a rational statement. So this is just self propaganda, right? Self reassuring. Sorry, what do you call that? Self boosting, or what do you call that? I'm losing my words. Sorry. Self-proving. There's no one that support his statement but himself. So he's making this statement to support his previous statement by self-proving, right? My statement stands. Who is to say that his statement stands? Like, who says that? He is the one that say it. No one else says it, right? And he continued by saying, if you read it objectively, you will see that it is a rational statement. So I have read it objectively, and oh my gosh. Okay, so he's basically not countering my points. He's not even reading what I have to say. So he's not even acknowledging what I have to say. He just block out completely. He doesn't even read it and just say I'm making assumptions and dismissing myself completely. So I continue by saying, so I shouldn't speak my truth. Everyone has a right to speak from the heart, and you can have all the training in the world. That doesn't mean you get to dismiss someone else completely, right? He's not having an open mind. He's not having a debate with me. He's just kind of imposing his belief on everyone else, on everyone, on me. He's just pushing his belief. He doesn't care about what other people have to say. He doesn't care about people's opinion. He just wants to push his own belief. He just wants to implant his belief into everyone else. So that is what I don't like about this propaganda that they are expounding. That's why I'm saying that it's a propaganda, because they don't listen to what people have to say. If you listen to what people have to say and if you counter their statement, then I will respect that. I will give you the benefit of the doubt, and I will respect that. But the fact that you don't even bother to read it and just completely dismiss it by saying I'm immature and that I'm making assumptions and that I'm angry, or I'm diagnosing me, I'm angry, and I'm looking is accusing me of looking within myself outside into the world. What does that even mean? That I'm stuck in my own world. He's basically saying. So he doesn't even, he doesn't even make a factual. I don't know why I said that. Sorry. He doesn't even make a factual debate about, he doesn't make a factual argument. He's just being emotional. So I continue by saying, he continued by saying, you just have inner conflict. Again, he's accusing me. You just have inner conflict and you want to take it out on me. And I'm done. This is not productive. So he's making assumptions, right? He's making assumptions that I have anger issues, that I have inner conflict, that I'm taking it out on him, right? Like, you know, I do have inner conflict, but this is not what it's all about. I'm not, what do you call that? I'm not taking it out on him. I'm just fighting for those who are being abused and being dismissed. I'm fighting for those who are being abused, the fresh abuse survivors who doesn't have their feelings or their pain validated, who have to listen to this guy defend evil. It's just painful to watch, to hear, and I had to say something. And the fact that I had to say something and he didn't give a proper argument. He just kind of just accused me of certain things. He didn't even give a proper argument. you know his statements doesn't have an argument in it. It doesn't defend his argument. It doesn't defend his initial statement. It just goes on in a very immature, childish way where he just kind of discredit me and dismiss what I have to say. He doesn't even bother to listen or to digest what I have to say. So I mean, I digested what he had to say, and I didn't agree with it, but at least I hear what he has to say. He doesn't even bother to hear it. So I said, your truth. So he continued to say, your truth somewhere else. Sorry, say your truth somewhere else. It's not helping me, and it's not helping you. And he said, I have not dismissed anybody until now. I'm dismissing you because you are being a pain in the ass for no good reason. And I just kind of I couldn't, like, I just made a wow statement. I replied a wow emoji, as you can see. It's just unbelievable, how blind he is to his own actions. And then I continue by saying, you might be right that I have inner conflict, but this has nothing to do with that. I am merely fighting against your blanket statement, which serves only those who have gone past the hurt and only those who have gone past the pain and hurt and trauma bond. Right? His statement is not helping those survivors, is not helping the majority of survivors who are going through abusive relationships, who have still not go through who have still contact who are still contacting their abusers, who are still in abusive relationships, who are still struggling to heal from the abuse. And he's making this statement about stop demonizing them, and everyone are a little recognizing that some people are psychologically maladjusted to society and allowing for it. What does that mean? Forgiving them, not being right, recognizing that other people are not emotionally mature and forgiving them for it. Oh my gosh. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you continue to allow the abuse, by the way, right? And I just can't stand it. You can't forgive someone immediately after the abuse, and sometimes forgiveness is not possible when someone has crossed the line so far that abuse that it's not possible to forgive them. You have to just you have to draw the line somewhere. And then I continue by saying, on a separate comment to the same post on the Pinocchio story, from naive innocence to deep recognition of evil, to recognition of deep evil. So I commented, there seems to be a lot of advocates for being compassionate towards narcissists on Facebook. I truly believe it is important to stay safe against narcissists. I hope victims will keep aware of these propaganda they are spreading against fighting for your own rights against abusers and voicing out the injustice. It is ridiculous that we are being attacked and it is ridiculous that we are being attacked for speaking up about how we are violated, of how someone has violated us. Forgiveness doesn't mean dismissing someone's act of injustice and atrocity. It doesn't mean keeping silent after being cut by someone over and over. Are we supposed to just be okay with everything and let the abuser continue their malice? How can that be in any way reasonable? And again, he doesn't reply to this, right? For 11 hours, he just left it blank. And then after 6 hours, it was blocked to the public. And after 8 hours, it was removed. The post was removed. So there's another thread on Quora, but I think I'll save that for next week because I don't have the energy. I just don't have the energy anymore. So let's just continue with the dance therapy. I hope you found that useful in some way, and start to question when someone is saying something and not to just listen to what they have to say, but put it through your own, emotional processing, your own intuition, and think for yourself whether what someone say is reasonable, because it's just not reasonable to have compassion for a psychopath, right? Someone who has no empathy and no conscience, right? Someone who would hurt you, cut you at your knees when you're at your most vulnerable, when you're at your most weakest moment. They would hurt you. How can that signify humanity in any way? That is not human, right? The fact that someone would hurt you when you're at your weakest, the fact that someone would cause your weakness and then wait until you are at your most weakest to create harm, that is just not right. That is just not right. So anyways, let's move on to dance therapy. I'm gonna change my screen right now and see if it works. So let's just add a screen. Is it game capture? Okay, I have no idea how to I think I'll just start a new live stream on dance therapy because I can't show my webcam, so I'll just end this right now. So tune in for, sorry about the late live stream this week because I was trying to troubleshoot on the OBS studio. I couldn't get the screen to work because there was like a problem with my software. So there's sorry about that, and I will try to be more punctual next time and go and live stream at 7:30 GMT every Tuesday. So tune in next week on Tuesdays. Now that my screen is working fine, it should be perfectly fine, and I should be able to start on 7:30 on the dot next Tuesday. So I'm sorry about the delay this week. Stay mindful, peaceful, and powerful, and question everything that that someone is telling you. Question it, and seek the truth. And I'll see you briefly in the next live session where I will talk about dance therapy. Where I'll demonstrate some tips on how to heal through dance therapy. So see you in a bit. Ciao.